folks, you've heard from the investors in the North American panel. I wanted to now just quickly introduce you to a friend of mine, Paul O'Connor, who's one of the green bond gurus of JP Morgan. Because, of course, JP Morgan, the biggest bank in the Western world, are doing all of these deals. And what are you seeing on the ground, Paul? I want to ask you first, welcome, Paul, to the session. What are you seeing on the ground in North America? What's happening?
Thanks, Sean. So, I mean, what we're seeing on the ground is an enormous uptick in the level of interest around ESG generally, and in particular, low carbon solutions. So massive focus on the tools and techniques and technologies that we're going to be deploying to achieve economic decarbonization. All of that is going to require a huge amount of financing, and the US is in a fantastic position to make use of all of these new technologies and also to find the capital to put behind them. So I think we can look forward to a very appreciable uptick in the volume of ESG labeled debt that's going to be issued to support all of these low carbon transitions.
That's a very bullish response, Paul. That's great news for the investors who are saying they want to get more green and sustainable bonds. What's the work that's got to be done to convert this? Is it pretty straightforward? Are people becoming deals, or are you finding there's quite a lot of engagement to get people ready for market, and especially new issuers?
So the good news is a lot of it is happening already, and the debt instruments will effectively be holding up and mirror to what companies in these key industry sectors are doing to evolve their business models in a sort of a low carbon direction. So that's the good news. There's a lot of work to do to scale up and prove these technologies, but what we're seeing is appetite for the solutions, and we're seeing investor interest and expectation that these solutions will come through, and investors are willing to put the money and support and endorse these steps that these companies are taking.
Do you think that the change in the administration, the infrastructure bill and so on, that's been put through so far, will have a material effect on issues and support issuance growth? Is that going to flow through?
Absolutely. I think the tone has dramatically changed under the new administration. I think the signals are all pointing in the right direction. And I think corporates in the key industry sectors are taking a lot of comfort from, the signals that are being given out under the new administration. So I think everything is pointing in the right direction. And it's just a question of making it happen and getting on with it. And, the finance flows are a big part of making that happen.
Boy, sounds good. How can we help? What do you need to make this huge, or are you just doing it and it's going to sneak up on the rest of us?
Yeah, so again, the future is already here. It's just unevenly distributed, and a lot of these things are happening already, but they're not necessarily visible in the market. So right. I think one thing that is important is that government follow up, their statements and their policy signaling, with economic incentives. Things like carbon pricing, for example, are going to play a big role in all of this. And once companies, have some confidence that the economic incentives will evolve in the right direction, I think they'll be willing to put capital behind these solutions that we all need to achieve this decarbonization that we're looking at.
Well, we're hearing some very encouraging signals coming out of the White House and the Treasury Secretary's office at the moment. So let's watch this space, I guess. Paul, I need to ask you, we have seen massive growth in the market, where it looks like we're going to hit close to about 2 trillion of green and sustainable bonds outstanding this year, 80% growth. At least that's our report. Are you taking any bets about what growth in the US market's going to be like in this next period? Is it going to be 10%, 20%, or 120%?
I mean, I think, the market already year to date has exceeded our expectations. I think a lot of things are driving it. We have new labels and new structures and new ways of doing things. We also have a vastly increased investor appetite for ESG labeled securities. So, I think we are going to outpace where we were last year. And I think we've already exceeded some of the initial forecasts that were made at the start of this year. So, I think the sky's the limit. The costs of doing all this work that we're talking about doing, are appreciable, and the level of finance that's needed to be put behind it to make it all happen, is enormous. And a big part of that will be reflected in the growth of the ESG debt capital markets. So I think, as I say, the sky's the limit. There's a lot to do, a lot of money to be put to work. And, I think that's going to drive the market in the right direction. Fantastic.
Folks, at Climate Bonds, we're very proud to partner with JP Morgan with Paul, with the rest of the team. You'll see some other conversations with Chukwumana and so on during the week, because we have an elephant moving. JP Morgan is the elephant of banks. And as you can hear from the conversation today, they are getting going. They are helping deliver the deals that investors are asking for and want. Paul, it's an incredibly exciting time. 2 years ago, 3 years ago, we weren't having this conversation, were we? It's we can feel it in the air.
Absolutely.
Thank you for joining us. Good luck. And we wish you a lot of success.
Thank you, Sean.